Love is a high-risk behavior.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, High Risk for Heartbreak. I am your host, Christina, and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. If you are new here, I pray that you find value in at least one thing I say today. And to my old and faithful returning crew, you know just how much I appreciate you. I want to thank all of you who have been waiting the next episode. I really appreciate the patience that you guys are having with me. I am still working at my certifications of going into substitute teaching since the industry is extremely slow right now. So I've been earning these different certifications that'll just kind of help me along in my process, but it has been a lot of studying. I feel like I'm back in school a little bit, which I kind of like. It's actually kind of nice. But anyway, I thank you guys so much for having patience with me. I find my brain extremely overloaded, and it's actually hard for me to write on the same days that I'm studying. So, and since I'm spending most of my time studying, it's been a little bit interesting. So, without further ado, we're going to jump into this particular episode, but I wanted to share with you guys, I had something completely different planned that I've been working on the last 2 weeks to do for today's episode, and actually went and saw a movie, and that just completely changed. I knew I needed to have this moment with you, so I hope that this episode is whoever it's for, that you're able to connect to this and that we're able to have some space of understanding here. I saw a movie this past week called The Long Walk. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but this particular movie is based on a book by Stephen King. Now, Stephen King was one of my favorite authors to read as a child. A lot of his stuff is very scary. My first movie was It that I saw of Stephen King's, or maybe it wasn't It. It might not have been It, but it was the most memorable and literally started my phobia of clowns. And I ended up getting over that because I got to do a TV show where I got to be a clown, which was really funny. It was a prank show. And so that was over. But nonetheless, this particular new movie that is based on a novel by Stephen King called The Long Walk, or A Long Walk, is about a large group of young men who are participating in this annually televised contest where they have to embark on this endless walk for their lives, literally. This is a spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen the movie and you want to and you don't like spoilers. I'm not giving a movie review, by the way. This is not a review about the movie, though I thoroughly enjoyed it and I probably will see it again. But I am going to be talking a little bit about some of the stuff that happens in the movie. So I don't want to spoil it for you, for those of you. So if that's you, just go ahead and click off. You're not going to see this one. You're not going to want to see this one. Like I said, I won't say too much, but the boys are eliminated one by one, very brutally. And along this walk that they are taking, they are also connecting through telling their stories and sharing some very interesting moments. As an actress, this script was a dream to me because it was extremely dialogue heavy and there wasn't a ton of other things going on other than these guys literally walking for their lives. But it was in their sharing with each other and in their connecting that I got all choked up. And I think that's why this is probably one of my favorite actor-friendly movies. There were two moments in this film that brought me to tears. Now, listen, I'm not telling you you're going to cry, okay? I'm a crying person. I have to cry. I need to cry a couple times a month. I am on the spectrum of emotions, okay? So I feel it all. I don't let myself not feel things. And I was playing those feelings like a piano throughout that film. So don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that this film is going to make you cry. It may or may not. But as for me and my house, I cried a couple of times, okay? As these characters untangled their own personal stories, while along the way, they were also building new ones with each other. And I loved that as well. Like, we got to learn about them and then see how they created this new history with the people they were walking with. And watching some of the characters struggle with their change of heart about this path, this long walk that they chose to enter into for different reasons, really brought up some things within me. It brought up some sentiments of regret and a harsh reminder of my humanness. It brought this huge wave of empathy for those who make choices out of desperation, but also are then left to deal or reconcile with the consequences of their choices and there's no one to blame or no one to shift that responsibility to. Like each and every one of those individuals were there for a reason, and they had to reconcile over and over throughout this walk why they were there. And it was really an interesting struggle to watch. Desperation will make people do crazy things, and it will cause people to make knee-jerk decisions. And I think a lot of our decisions in life should be approached with a peace in your heart and in your mind. But a couple of the characters, it seemed like this was more of a desperate effort. So that was really interesting. Nevertheless, this film evoked so much within me. So much that I actually blubbery cried to my therapist afterwards. And I mean, I don't like saying this, but I had just this moment of reckoning. I felt like God was talking to me that I'm not living like my life depends on it. While I was watching this film, it was literally like the Lord was speaking to me about my time management, about my resource management, about my decision making, my procrastinating, my overanalysis, my scars from my past woundedness, and how they are still sensitive, and that sensitivity is preventing me from living like I did before I had the scars, or living greater because I have them. There was a lot coming up for me. And I don't know if it's just I'm in a palpable space, and this film was a conduit to kind of just, get that splinter out. And a splinter, if you leave it alone, it starts to slowly, the skin starts to push it out. If that film was just the last little like push to get it out, I don't know, but for whatever reason, I've been in a very highly emotional state the last like week and a half, so it was bound to happen. This was really hard for me, though, to reckon with, because I genuinely try to empty my cup daily. Every single day, I will often work from sunup to sundown to do things that will increase my value in my additions to the world. And, I take care of my vessel in a very specific way. I take care of it like my life depends on it. Especially, I mean, I've been athletic my entire life, but I also have a congenital issue that almost took me out in 2019. And it was that medical moment in my life that changed my life forever. So I kind of am very scrutinizing about the types of food that I eat, how it impacts my body, and I make sure to get my exercise. Cardio happens every single day. I've been rollerblading a lot, you guys. I love rollerblading. And so I've added that into my routine. So now every day, because I have all this time, I've been working out 2-a-days. I've been doing 2-a-days, which is crazy. So Pilates or yoga in the morning. And then at night, I'm rollerblading, and I do a nice deep stretch afterwards. And it's really been so helpful for me. But I think about that, in the experience that I had back in 2019, forced me to not relinquish. I was already on a really great path of health. I just always have been, but to be even more specific about it. So, yeah, I've always been quite scrutinizing in that area. But anyway, since then, I have, however, been living with this quiet anxiety that at any point God could take me out. And I know this is what a transition, Christina. My gosh. One of my biggest worries, and I know that I should not allow my heart to be troubled, but I'm just going to be very candid with you guys. Sometimes my heart is troubled, and I think it's okay for us to admit that. There are many times in the Bible where David was so troubled. Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, and we'll talk a little bit more about lamentation later. But, I think we don't allow ourselves enough space sometimes to be troubled so we can call on the Lord. And I've, had to give this anxiety, as I call it, like a quiet anxiety, that I could never do enough to keep myself here upon this earth. And that because I have had a literal near-death experience, well, I don't even know if you can say near-death, like death experience, your outlook of life changes, and it feels like the clock is ticking. Let me just say that. Whereas before I wasn't in that space, One of my biggest concerns, though, is that in all of my doings, all of the things I was talking about, this value add, I wake up and I do all these things, that I won't finish the thing that I'm supposed to actually be doing. And there's some things that God has been calling me to do that I've not been doing. Okay. I've not been doing them because I am concerned about this other thing over here, and my stability in this area over here, or stability in this area over here. And I'm like, God, hold on, that can wait for a second. And, this film just reminded me, is like, no, it can't. No, it can't. Because it's actually the thing that I called you to. So you need to get on it. I think before 2019, I believed that I would have more time, like all the time that I would want to have before I would transition out of this world. I had it, and it would be my decision. And I know that sounds very strange, but I think a lot of people live their lives just generally kind of like, I've got the time, so I'm not even thinking about that until someone passes away. And then I was like, oh, my life is so short. And then we go back into this mode of like, but it couldn't be me. I still had this very childlike outlook on the amount of life ahead of me. And then 2019 happened, and I was like, oh, I could have been out of here. And what do I have to show for it? What do I have? What did I give to it? I could have been out of here. And at that time, I wasn't squandering my life. I had just moved to Atlanta from LA. When I was in LA, I was working it. Okay. I had 3 jobs. I had my own private training business. I was doing training aerial, my own private training business. I also worked for a company teaching aerial and was investing into my students. And that was a really beautiful long run of my life where I was building community and camaraderie, and, made some really wonderful girlfriends that I hadn't ever had in my life. I have 2 best friends, but never a group of women that I really truly could lean into and that we would just share so much with. LA really grew me. My church home that I was at there just grew me significantly. I got into like mission work, and there was a lot of wonderful things going on. And then I moved here in 2019, and the year that I moved here, almost out of here. Okay. So, while I wasn't squandering my life, I wasn't living my life to the full. My life was full, but I wasn't living it to the full out of the abundance that God wanted me to live it. And I feel burdened by that, because when I look at the year 2025, now that there are new callings that have been revealed to me, nothing has really changed in how I am moving. And I feel burdened by that. So this movie was like a shake 'em and wake 'em up kind of thing for me. In this movie, like the guys who were walking for their lives, the speed that they walked at, the purpose that they walked for, the distance that they were willing to go depended on how much they actually wanted to live. And at a certain point, things became very real for these young men. Their every step was a deposit or a withdrawal from their bank of life. There were moments when they were on the brink of giving up because they lost the plot somewhere in the midst of this pressure to live, and they would fall behind. That's all I'm going to say, okay? And things would happen. There were moments when there were a couple of them had gotten sick, and they would fall back and fall behind, and some things would happen. And then there were also moments that they were so locked in that they redeemed their time. They got ahead, right? They got back on pace. And that's something that I have been reflecting on since watching that movie, is time redemption and stewarding well what is left in the bank of life that I have. And I know this topic might seem morbid or perhaps triggering for some of you, but I want you to look at the world around you right now. Look at it. You are actually a part of it, as much as you feel removed, maybe because these things are not happening in your backyard, maybe because you have different viewpoints of some of the things that are happening. Maybe there's a lack of connectedness or empathy there for the things that are happening to certain people. Maybe there's a disconnectedness because it's too much, it's overwhelming to actually look at what is happening around the world. But there is unrest politically, socially, relationally. Economically, we are at unrest, especially here in the United States. We are at unrest in our careers. The unemployment rates have gone up again, right? The price of food is crazy. It's crazy. I am plant-based primarily. I eat seafood, not even on the regular, once a month. And usually when I'm eating it, you guys, I eat it when I'm out. I'm not even bringing it home. Why are my grocery bills $85, $100 for me for 1 week of eating fruits and vegetables? I'm trying to make it make sense and I can't. It's like crazy, right? Our homes are at unrest. The highest rates of everything happening right now, okay? And even our the homes within our head, our mental state it's at unease. There's no ease here. And I know that I have certainly been feeling the pressure of all of these changes in the last 5, 6, 7 years. So much has been thrown at us. We have been injected into things that we never asked to be injected into. We've been withdrawn from things that we need to be connected to. Things have been thrust upon us. Everything is so visual nowadays. There's just so much going on. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot. Twilight zones. We've been in the twilight zone for a while. I think we are coming out of that fog, but what has been this decade? Like when I really look at, like, it's not even just 2020. Like, this decade has been a wild ride. And I think personally I was responding well at first, but I'm finding myself now losing pace. I think I might be withdrawing a little bit more from my bank account than I am depositing into my bank account. And this is the reason why we have accounts and why we deposit as much as we can, because there are going to be seasons in life when all you can do is withdraw. And especially in this last year, that's where I'm at. I'm finding myself in this place where these pressures are causing me to feel crushed and pressed down with good measure. No, but truthfully, I feel like I'm doing a lot more withdrawing from my bank because I don't have it. You know, I just don't have it. And I am battling right now with my faith. I'm battling in my faith that God is going to keep me on this walk as long as I need to be to complete the mission. I have been literally, and these may be, this may be Satan speaking to me, but have thought like, Lord, will you take me before I'm finished? Or will you let me finish, Lord? Is it up to me? I know it's not up to me to say, okay, Lord, now take me now. It's not that, but just this thing that you've called me to, these things, it's multiple things that you've called me to. If I don't finish them, that's what's on my heart and my mind is, what if I don't finish them? And I think it's there because I haven't really got going with them. Truthfully, if I'm going to be honest, I think I've been too slowly, I've been losing pace, like I said earlier. What I don't hear a lot is I don't hear Christians speaking like this every single day. I can watch 1,000 podcasts, roundtables, I can watch videos, small clips, reels, shorts, and so seldom do I hear the stories of people in current struggle. Now I hear the world. I hear the world struggling. I do hear the world struggling. I do see that. I do see these newsworthy topics of struggle. But seldom, specifically within the Christian walk, I don't see and hear a lot of people speaking about their current struggle. I hear of triumph. I hear of testimonies. But I am struggling to hear current walks of others like me that are feeling crushed by the pressure to live, that are being crushed by the pressure to keep pace, to continue to press towards the mark. Like the characters in the movie, they all had a story and a reason that they were there, but in the midst of the walk that they were encountering, that they were encountering new struggles. And these new struggles is what helped them to relate to each other. I am not necessarily experiencing life like that. Now, I do thankfully have resources around me to assist me in navigating my personal season. And I know everybody is not going through the same season at the same time, etc. But I think much of what I see is extremely polished. And even I'm, guilty of that, is like posting polished messages. Like everything is so polished and so perfect. And it ends up on a high note, and it never ends in questioning. It never ends in a cry, a tearful prayer, a lamenting song. It is always packaged. It's always very curated. And like I said, I understand everybody's not in the same place, but there has to be somebody out there that is experiencing what I'm experiencing. And I hope it will be encouraging to that person just to know that someone else is along this walk with you, this long walk. As things are changing, you came here with a certain purpose, but things have been happening along the way, and now you're experiencing something else. I honestly wasn't sure what this episode was even going to be about, other than a moment of realness, right? Where you see a woman struggling with her faith. I am struggling to trust God. I'm struggling to believe that God is going to keep me here, one, but also that he's going to equip me to be able to do this big mammoth thing that he's calling me to. And I'm like, I don't think I have it, Lord. I don't think I have it. I don't even have the time. Where's the time to do that, Lord? Where's the funds? Because it's going to take a lot of funds for me to be able to set my life aside and devote my time to this. I'm by myself. How am I going to do this? And I just know there's someone else out there who has a large calling on their life, or multiple callings on their life, and they just think, how is it going to get done, Lord? I don't see it. So I'm going to just settle for this thing that makes me feel safe. I too am struggling with my walk. I'm struggling with my time, with my purpose, my ability to keep walking. Not even my ability, my will. Not even in my ability, it is my will to keep walking. And I feel sick saying this, and maybe that's why people don't say it out loud, because it's so unpackaged. We spend so much time prettifying everything, selling a dream, that I can just only assume that everyone else is living it but me. When I look out, that's what I see. And all the positive messages that I've received, I've struggled over these last 3 years, to climb out of this ditch of heartbreak that I was in. God has blessed me tremendously, and I have my highs and lows like anyone else. And I appreciate all of the positive messages that come to me through my friends and acquaintances when they sense that my reserve is low. I do wish that more people allow themselves to live the lowlights as well publicly. Not all of them. Everything doesn't have to be public, but we are just so curated. We're so curated that it's almost like there's a lack of connection there. And when you happen upon something that's not curated, it's like, ew, that's disgusting. Don't put that up. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see the hard part of your walk. But I do. I want to see where's your walk. To me, that's like it's like your math teacher asking you to do a problem, and they say, show me your work. Like, you have the answer, but they're like, okay, now show me your work. That's what I'd like to see. I decided this morning to tune into this Bitcoin call. I've been interested in Bitcoin recently, and I've never done that type of investing, but I've been interested. I don't even really know what it is. And I got on the call, and it was a bunch of people, it was men, that were all talking about Bitcoin, and the language even that they were using was just so foreign to me. And I understand I have to do my part, my due diligence, to kind of understand the language of this space. And it's not their job to do that for me. But everything was already so set in place that I realized they would not be able to describe this to me like I was 5. And I think a lot of spaces are like that. They're already arrived. And then there's there's no work to back it up though. It's like, where's the work though? The work is behind a paywall. The work is is being gate kept, you know? Where's the work? And so I guess this is like one of the things that I'm challenging myself to do in this next season, which will be coming up. You know, I'm nearing the finish line on this season. And once next season starts, I'm challenging myself to go off script completely. Maybe I'll have some bullet point notes, probably not even an outline, which is terrifying to me because I can talk, y'all. And I don't want to talk your heads off saying a bunch of nonsensical things because my brain works like this. You know, and while I understand, I want to make sure that you understand. I think that's important as a speaker to get the message across. But I want you guys to see the walk. I want you to walk with me versus watch the end highlight of a curated piece of work, a finished piece of work. Everything is so finished. And I think I'm just going to get a little bit more raw. So anyway, the character building, where is that? Where is the struggle to keep pace, to keep purpose? Where is the lament along the way? I definitely am in a long season of lament. I never thought it would be this long. I thought it was okay, and I'm not. I have been trying to offload fear and judgment and analysis paralysis, which is like one of my biggest things. Judgment and analysis paralysis are like neck and neck for me. Relationships, what I thought I knew about God and his people, I'm being challenged on that. I'm being challenged on people that say they're his people. And then I don't necessarily see the fruit, but it seems like other people do. And I'm like, well, wait a second. My heart is being challenged. What I thought I knew about myself in relationship to God is being challenged. God is taking it all off of me, and it's been a long process of that. And I understand that he's being very specific about how he removes these things to get to me. But it's been a long walk. I've been carrying a lot for so long. And this process of offload is showing me how exhausted I actually am and how hurt I actually was. It's like wearing a pair of shoes that are too small. You know, maybe at the store they fit properly when you first tried them on, but then you start to walk around in them after you've purchased them and you're walking in them, and then your feet swell. And then all of a sudden it seems like your shoes don't fit anymore. And your feet are screaming at you to take them off, but your mind is saying, no, because I'm not to my destination. So I got to keep this on. I got to keep on my purse and my jacket and all the things that you're carrying. And it's just more swelling feet until it's unbearable. And then when you go to take them off, it hurts more because there's so much pressure built up. There's so much inflammation, and it hurts to even just take them off. But finally you do get them off, and then you realize as you're peeling them off of your swollen feet how much you actually were hurt. But you get them off, and then the blood begins to kind of go back into your feet. And then you realize, like, wow, that was a lot of pressure. I really needed this space. I needed to take them off to realize that these shoes don't fit. They don't fit me anymore, not for this journey, not where I'm walking. And that's, I think, what lament is. It's this space after all of this pressure along this long walk when you give up and you give it to God and he takes it off of you. And then you realize just how hurt you actually have been, how swollen your feet actually were, how much you were actually carrying, how small those shoes are for this journey. The shoes don't fit anymore for this journey. But that is sometimes the painful process. We have entire books that are dedicated to lamenting in the Bible. Outside of Lamentations, there's other ones. I think we've forgotten the importance of it as this being part of our walk. And we only live for the highlights, the blessing, the glory, the testimony, but not the lament, the testimony that's in the lament, in the process, in the actual moment that you're going through these things. The young men in this movie who decided that they could no longer take any more steps lamented before giving in to the pressure. The difference was only a few of them kneeled, some of them fell and gave up, and then others of them walked to their end. After the movie, I asked myself, how would I walk if a clock of my life was in my face? Or if a weapon was pointed at me? How differently would I be walking every day? As I was writing this, the bullet points for this today, or I didn't write it today, but as I was writing for this, I looked up above my desk and it was very apropos. On my board, I have 2 vision boards, one in my room and one above my desk. And I had typed out these things probably when I was doing my 3rd and 4th quarter planning. And one of them says, faith is my function. And the other one says, every day, decision is part of my faith walk. And God is testing that right now. Faith is my function means that just because my faith might be waxing and waning doesn't mean that it's lost, for one. And faith is on the spectrum, right? Especially in these more withdrawing seasons of life. But knowing that faith is a natural function of me means that every day it is a part of my walk. Every day. There are not days that I get to put the faith off and be without faith. I actually need it every single day. It may be something that you become good at sometimes. You might forget about for periods of time when your energy is there and your money isn't funny, and when your friendships and all of your personal relationships are intact. And then in other times, your faith is going to actually call you out to keep on pace with its functioning. It's going to make your feet hurt a little bit. It's going to show you that you need to grow out of those shoes. You may become exhausted by the beating down of the sun and your commitment to your story, but please remember this. And this is what I remembered when I looked at my board. Every day, my decision is to walk in faith. Every day, I will have to decide that I'm going to finish. I am going to finish. And I'm going to finish faithfully. I want to encourage you, if you are going through a tough walk, that you have a very imperfect person right here on this screen lamenting with you, going through it with you. We may have some separate reasons why we even are here for this walk. We have separate purposes that God is calling us to on this walk, but together we are building a new relationship through our seasons of shedding and lament. We have to live like our lives depend on it. Let's finish faithfully. Thank you guys so much for loving yourself first, so you can then go and love your neighbor. Until next time. Why don't you stay a little longer? You like what you like, right? Subscribe to the channel so we can spend a little more time together, and maybe comment your thoughts because I care what you're thinking. Love is the risk and the reward.